Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday, August 21st. It is a beautiful day, and with another edition of the Spin Zone. This show is brought to you on behalf of the Daily Bread Network. If you're not already, please do subscribe on YouTube to get all of our best content. Got a bunch of NFL stuff out there, got a bunch of fantasy stuff out there, all these shows, MLB. Everything that we produce is out there, so please do follow it. And if you like what you hear, if you're not already, please do follow me at SpinDoc Sports. Like, share, repost the stream. We appreciate all the love. So no show yesterday. Had some work related stuff that did not allow it. So, but we're back today. We got three pitchers to talk about. We got a shorter card, but a decent card. Normally on these short days, especially on moving days, you either get a bunch of fourth or fifth starters, or even sometimes you just get like just no good lines. There's a little bit of value on this card, so that's another reason why I want sometimes even on short days I like to do a full show, because for me it's all about where the value is on the card. So while there wasn't a show yesterday, I did want to talk a little bit about last night and I also wanted to just some general knowledge for everybody who might be watching about some quick and dirty ways that you can look at capping, where even if it doesn't lead you to one side, it might take you off of the other side. So the one that I do want to talk about first and foremost would be Mizorowski. And I know that I put it in a post on X earlier today, but just in general, it is so hard, so difficult to take a guy for an over on the road who's on a pitch count. It doesn't matter who it is. And this happened with Skeens last year, where everybody got all starry-eyed about Skeens, and then Skeens got put on some pitch limitations, and then everybody started saying, all the people that got in late on Skeens after the books had already adjusted his lines start saying stuff like, shit's rigged and Vegas made the call. No, that didn't happen. You're just too late to the party. Same thing happened with Mizorowski last night. The books hung the 5.5 at plus money for a number of reasons. Number one is, even though the Cubs offense has been absolute lately in a number of spots, they are still one of the highest contact teams overall in Major League Baseball. And in their everyday lineup that they put out most of the time, they have 2 to 3 dead spots with guys like Nico Horner. And so you have a ton of zone contact for a team who now is seeing a kid for the first time, or for the second time, I should say, in about 2 weeks. And that same kid, his team has already acknowledged that he's on about an 80 pitch max count because he's a kid. You don't want to throw his arm out. Brewers are also going to the playoffs. I don't know if he's going to start in the playoffs, but you might need him to tag with, my guess is what the Brewers might do is obviously Peralta and Woodruff are playoff starters, but what you might do is pair him with Priester and do like a tag team start. So like Mizorowski goes 2 or 3 innings, Priester goes a few, and do it like that. And so you get a full start out of those two guys. But the point being is that think about the situation that the person is in. And this is where trends fail people, is because you just have to understand that when a guy is in that situation, 6 Ks is a lot to ask for. And you could see last night the Cubs approach the plate was just stay alive. Shaw for the Cubs, man, that was an absolutely brilliant plate appearance that he had. 10 or 11 pitches, and he fouled off 100 right at him. He fouled off a couple hundred rising fastballs and ended up drawing a walk. And that's what you can do when you see a kid who only really throws 2 pitches for the second time in 2 weeks. So there's math and then there's situation. And the situation last night said that Mizorowski it just wasn't going to happen with him going to 6, 7, and even especially not 7, 8, 9 plus Ks. Because you think about it, if he's only going to throw 80 pitches, I mean, that's like one strikeout every like 8 or 9 pitches on the road against a divisional rival who you just saw. And those are the kinds of things where when you try to put the puzzle together, and this is like for me, I mean, obviously, because you see the charts, I'm the biggest math guy out there, but I have to put the situation into perspective and say, like, does that really make sense? And so that's one of the reasons too why I always wait on a lineup. The people that just blindly bet props at open, I can't understand it. I really, really can't. I have to see a lineup. I have to know that the guys that have the tendencies and the numbers that I want in are going to be in. So enough about that. The other thing quickly that I wanted to cover is if you want a quick and dirty way to cap the rest of the season against the Astros, just look for pitchers that generate above league average chase and have below average chase content and look to take the over. If they do the opposite, look to take the under. The Astros chase all the time. Charlie Morton obviously hit him for 8. Skubal and Flaherty torched him. And, yeah, their team isn't playing very well overall right now, but this has been a theme with the Astros all year because in that lineup yesterday, their everyday lineup, for the most part, 6 to 7 guys chase, and only half of those guys make chase contact above league average. So if you have a pitcher, any pitcher, doesn't matter who it is, if you go to their pitcher page on MLB Savant and you look up, just do a Control F search for chase contact, and they'll be right next to each other at the bottom of the page. And you'll see the chase rate and chase contact. Compare it to MLB average, and there you go. You have so MLB average for chase rate is 28.4%. Chase contact is 57.6. What you're looking for is a pitcher that gets 30% or 29.5 to 30% chase or more and allows chase contact at 54% or more. Anybody that does that, as long as the Astros have their regular everyday lineup in, you can probably go a half unit on virtually any pitcher against to get strikeouts. Not saying it's going to work every time, but it's going to work way more often than it doesn't because Charlie Morton was a chase pitcher. He doesn't have a dominating fastball, nor does Flaherty. So Skubal does, but Skubal actually didn't start getting strikeouts until he started going with his chase stuff because early on he went zone all day and only had 2 strikeouts in his first 28, 29 pitches. It was when he started going chase stuff. And so that's where another place where trends can fail people because you're comparing a pitcher in a situation that he's not going to be facing that day. You're putting a team in a situation that they're not going to be facing because you can say, well, the Astros have gone under in this in 5 of their last 6. Okay, well, who did they face, and were they the same type of pitcher as they're facing today? So we'll leave that as is. We'll get on with the business. You came here for capping for baseball, and that's what you're going to get. So let's first go to the comments. Want to say what's up to Moneybag Tone. Good morning to you. I'm doing great, man. VIP has gone 3-1 each of the last 2 days. We're up over 30 units for the year. Solid 56, 57% win percentage. We're just churning out money, man. We're just churning out money. So it's been pretty beautiful. It's been pretty beautiful. Nice little 9-3 run right now. So I say what's up to Andre and welcome in Andre. Thank you for joining. And I work graveyard shift. Stay up just to watch the show. Hey, man, I appreciate you, Andre. Thank you so much for that. That means a lot. Thank you, my friend, and we'll be happy to keep producing content for you. So appreciate it, and hope the graveyard shift is treating you at least a little bit well, because I've had friends that have worked it before. Actually, surprise, surprise, I have a lot of friends that have worked in the gaming industry and work in the 2 a.m. to 10 a.m. shift or 1 a.m. to 9 a.m. or whatever it is. And I know it can tax on you. So thank you. And I really appreciate you saying saying that. So thank you for the kind words. And Andre also says, you saved me big time on Strider versus the White Sox. Yeah, man. Sometimes it don't make sense. And sometimes, you know, I'm going to pause on this one for a second because Andre's point is a really good one. Is that, you know, I see. I'll be honest with you. Uh, I see lines in the morning or when they come out, and I'm usually right on right as soon because FanDuel usually releases them early. I'm usually right on when FanDuel releases them around 10 or 11 o'clock Eastern the night before after the team's game is over. But um, you know, there are lines where I see it and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I want to just jump on that. And that's where you see, I just talked about it. A lot of trend cappers do that is they'll just run a quick hit sheet, hit rate in same situations and look at a team's K percentage, the basic metrics and be like, okay, well, I have to get the closing line value is for other sports and other bets. It's not for strikeout props. It's not for actually MLB props, period, because especially pitcher props, because the lineup that the numbers that build that line are based on past history, based on averages, etc. And so, you have 9 guys in a lineup, and even though the books have a lot of intel and a lot of inside knowledge, even they don't know the 9 starters that are going to be out there the next day for sure. They have a good projection and a good predictive algorithm, but they don't know for certain. And so you're making decisions based on partial information. And so, Andre, I hear you, man, because I see lines every single day, every morning. I saw 2 this morning where I'm like, I want to just blast this right now. But I'm like, no, got to run the lineup, got to see what it is, got to run the numbers. And then, really, I ask myself the question, because this is what I asked for Strider, is I'm like, with all these numbers and all this math and all that, like, does it make sense? And there's several questions that like I just talked about, like, what has he done in past situations? What has he done when, like for the Astros, like what have they done facing chasers or chase pitchers, et cetera? Does it add up? And if it doesn't add up, I can't do it. And, the hardest part for me when I started in this business is to see something, because I still have these every day, where I have a lean on a guy to go over and I'm like, ugh, lineup doesn't match. I can't get there. It doesn't make enough sense for me. And it's like a 4.5 and the guy gets 7. I used to have FOMO big time and want to chase something the next day. I've learned and trained myself to just be like, you know what? I'm going to be happy that my read on that game was right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use what did I think about or what did I calculate to factor into that line, and then the next pitcher in the same situation, then I might put my money behind, because it means my read was right. My reads being right to me matter more than putting the money behind it, because it means that I'm doing the right thing. You do that enough, you profit, and so forth. So appreciate you, Andre. Thank you again. Roger in the house, always good morning to Roger, saying Seattle sucks against lefties. Seattle just sucks at zone contact, period. This is actually another one of those, if you want an easy one, if you want to just look for something to just put in a parlay or put a half unit behind every time, go to the pitcher's savant page. And if the pitcher spends more than 50% of his time in the zone and allows under 81.5, 81-ish% zone contact, because MLB average is 82.6, any pitcher that does that can strike out 5 at least against the Mariners, because they have a number of guys that half the lineup that takes in the zone and puts themselves in 1-2, 0-2, 0-1, whatever, basically pitchers counts, where every pitcher's strikeout percentage goes up. And then they have guys that are all under 80% in zone contact, specifically the top of their lineup. So you have a Rosarina, you have Cal Raleigh, you have Julio Rodriguez, and you have Gino Suarez. Every single one of those guys is under league average in zone contact. So that's almost half your lineup. If it's against a lefty, like Roger is saying, then they usually run Garver, and Garver's zone contact is abysmal as well. So now you have 5 to 6 out of the 9 right out of the gate in their everyday lineup that is horrible at zone contact. So zone contact is always what I use when I want to pick on the Mariners. I'll be totally honest. I had a feeling Luzardo would get there, but Luzardo didn't spend enough time in the zone for me. But I did read it as an over, didn't play it, didn't give it out. But that's another one where, yeah, he struck out the world. But like, I'm not gonna like if we had a show, I would have told you I would have done Luzardo, and I would have told you over is the only way to do that. So over is the only way to play it. I don't know if I can get there. I didn't, but I'm not sitting here thinking, oh my God, I have to nuke something today to make up for the fact that I missed on Luzardo. I'm happy that I trusted my read and that my read was good, and I will use that going forward. All right. And Moneybag Tone, thank you. Yep, appreciate the kind words. So thank you to everybody. We'll cover 3 pitchers today. We're going to get on with the business right now. And if there's any pitchers that we don't cover, which I'm guessing there's 1 or 2, because I already have little mini write-ups on those guys, because there are probably about 4 or 5 that I think people would want to talk about today. Just please shout them out in the chat. We'll be happy to get to them. But the first guy that we are going to talk about today is Mr. Mackenzie Gore. The lefty has had a little bit of a wild ride. He had a stretch where it wasn't so good, and then he had a stretch and then he had against the Giants where it was better, and he had a rough start against Philadelphia, but really recovered. So Mackenzie Gore, the lefty, is striking guys out at a 28.3% clip. He gets the Mets today, and we have a line which, based on past history and metrics, is about where I thought it would be. So first thing, I think this line is right. We have an over 5.5 and an under 5.5 at pretty even juice. Now, when you look at this projected Mets lineup, which as of now is 3 lefties and 6 righties, I'm not 100% sure that they will go all 3 lefties. But if you go by past history, they probably should. Actually, the guy that they should leave out of the lineup is Soto, but I don't know if they're going to do that. And if they bat him, they're going to bat him third, so he's not going to bat down. So I have to assume that all 3 lefties are going to be in. Now, with Gore, I use a couple things. I use chase for sure, because as I've said before, here and elsewhere, Gore does not have a dominating, overpowering fastball. He gets it up to 95, 96, and he can get guys on it. But if you look at Gore's metrics, he only generates a 21% whiff rate. League average is about 22.5. So it's a below average whiff rate on his fastball. What his fastball is used to do is set up his curve and his slider and his changeup. His slider and his changeup, slider he throws to lefties, changeup he throws to righties, both carry about the same whiff percentage, an absolutely wicked 45% whiff percentage. So I'm looking for guys who are going to chase, and I'm looking for guys who are not going to make contact when they do. So in this Mets lineup, from a chase perspective, you only have 3. You have Lindor and Alonso, who are at league average, but guys that are above, you have Taylor, you have Vientos, and you have Marte. Now, of those 3 guys, only one has decent pass history against Mackenzie Gore, and that would be Taylor, who is projected to bat in the 9 hole. I wouldn't be shocked if Taylor isn't in the lineup today. I wouldn't be shocked if he is. I think it's probably about a 50-50 shot. There's a few other guys that I think that they could put in. Marte and Vientos probably will be. Now, with his chase rate, you would think that Marte, especially batting up, would be a strikeout candidate. I could only put him as a half, and the reason why is because he's only struck out 2 out of 11 times facing Gore. So, and that's a theme that you see going down this Mets lineup is with only, 120 plate appearances is a ton. And Mackenzie Gore has not had great success against this Mets lineup. The only 2 guys he's had any reasonable degree of success against, I guess Torrens with 3 of 6, but you have Soto and you have Taylor. So even if you count Soto, Torrens, and Taylor for 1, then you go down the rest of the lineup, and the strikeout percentage for the rest of the lineup in ample plate appearances is like almost under 15%. So this is a team, the Mets are a team that sees Gore very well from a contact perspective. Then you factor in that you have McNeil, Torrens, Nimmo, Soto, none of whom chase, and none of whom whiff that much to a 4-seam fastball. So if you're not going to chase and you're also not going to whiff to a 4-seam fastball, which is where Gore has to go if a guy is not getting chase, if he's not generating chase, it's going to be tough to get strikeouts. So for this one, well, I think that the line is right. If this is the ultimate lineup that the Mets run, I would prefer Taylor to not be in, even if he is batting in the 9 hole. But this is a look on the under here. And Gore at home has had some really solid performances. But the other point with Mackenzie Gore remains is that while he has looked better than he has in his previous 4 games, and while his velo was back up in his last start, you still have where Mackenzie Gore's spin on his pitches is still down. So his spin in those 4 ugly starts before he torched the Giants was really, really ugly, like down almost 100 RPMs. I've said before, 50 is usually the delineation point that I use for it's like, that's not good. 75 is something to really pay attention to. 100's terrible. And so now in his last start against the Phillies, Gore's of his overall pitch mix, his spin was down again. His velo was up, but his spin was down again on his slider, on his cutter, on his curveball, and on his 4-seam fastball. What could this be an indication of? It could be an indication of a tired arm. Gore has done a lot of work for the Nationals this year, and he has thrown a lot of innings. He's actually approaching his career high, if I remember right. Yes, he is. 138 innings this year. 166 and a third was his all-time high last year. So he's approaching a career high for innings. Is it impacting him? I don't know. The spin and some of the velo drops would tell you that it might be. So against a team like the Phillies, you can get away with that. The reason why you can get away with it is because the Phillies have a number of chasers. The Mets do not. The reason why you can get away with it against the Giants is the Giants had a bunch of guys who have just gaudy whiff percentages to breaking balls. The Mets do not. The Mets have a few guys, as you can see by the numbers, especially to the slider and the changeup. You have Vientos, you have Marte and Soto are below average, and Taylor. So you have less than half the lineup that has a whiff percentage below league average to Gore's pitches, more than half the lineup who doesn't chase, and only 2 guys who don't make contact below average when they do chase. All that to me adds up to, like, I'm seeing 5 for Gore. I see 5. I don't see 6. And so if this is the lineup that they run, especially if Taylor's out, then I am probably going to be looking under on Mackenzie Gore. Now, if Taylor and Soto are both in, I'm going to see what the line movement does after lineup release. That's another thing that I use sometimes to gauge how books adjust after the lineup is released. So if this lineup is what it is, and if the line really doesn't move that much, if it's what the numbers that you see on the screen, I'm not opposed to a half unit for sure on the under. I might even be convinced to go a full unit. So Cover Kings is in the house saying 1 unit on Sean Manaea over 5.5 Ks -110 for Sean Manaea. Welcome in, Cover Kings. All right, so that's my synopsis on Gore. Let's talk about another pitcher who can have some wild rides, and that would be Dylan Cease. Dylan Cease gets the Giants today, and I hate this line. I'll just be straight up from the get-go. I hate this line. I hate the juice on the 6.5. I hate taking an under on the Giants in this spot. The other thing is with the San Francisco Giants on moving days, and especially in day games on moving days, they have had a tendency in the past to put out some really, really horseshit lineups, some really ugly lineups. So be on the lookout for that, because this projected, I'm not sure if this is the one we're going to get. But if we do, we have Dylan Cease, who is striking guys out at 30% exactly, walking guys at 9.8%. I'll explain why that's important in a moment. And as I mentioned, an ugly 6.5 line. Now, with this projected lineup of 5 lefties and 4 righties with Dylan Cease, because you can see on the upper right the zone percentage, he only spends 46.5% of his time in the zone. His slider is wicked. It does come in looking like a fastball and looking like a strike, and then drops almost straight down. So if you're going to chase low, you have a high percentage of whiffing and striking out against this man. Now, Dylan Cease does have a fastball that he can use with more regularity to get guys out than Mackenzie Gore. Cease can run it up to 98. I've seen him go 99. That's usually it's in the 97 range, 97, 98 range, but he can run it up the ladder. And what Cease is really good at, which is one of the comparison points that I use here, is that when you compare a four-seam fastball and a slider, so what I'm looking for is guys with a decent whiff percentage to both. The reason why I'm doing that is because Cease's four-seamer runs up like this, and his slider comes in looking like that fastball to go up and then is slower and goes straight down. One of the easiest ways for pitchers in Major League Baseball to get strikeouts is not only to change speeds, but also change sight lines of hitters. Because if you go fastball up, fastball up, fastball up, and then all of a sudden drop that big slow slider down, you have the hitter mentally locked in and focusing on an up, a here, and then you drop them down. And you just keep doing that over and over. Same thing goes with left to right. But Cease is more up and down than he is left to right. So I'm looking for chase, and I'm looking for a combo whiff percentage to a four-seam fastball and to a slider. And I don't have a ton of it in this lineup. The only one that really checks all of those boxes is Koss, who's batting in the 7-hole. Chase is above league average. Chase contact is about league average, but he's got a healthy whiff percentage to both four-seamer and to a slider. So the up and down motion can certainly get him. If he was batting any higher than 7th, I would probably put him as a 1+ and even a potential for 2 strikeouts. But batting 7th with Cease's outs prop, not usually going more than 6 innings, that's a tough proposition for me to sell, because that would mean that Cease will probably face him twice and would have to get him both times. So the other one that I see that's, I mean, at least a little close to those numbers would be Gilbert at the bottom. But the problem is that Gilbert doesn't whiff to a four-seam fastball. He does see fastballs quite well. And he's also got a very limited number of plate appearances. So this 92.9 and 33.3 at the very bottom for zone and chase contact, you got to understand, I mean, he's a young guy, so he's only seen like 100 probably I think less than 100 major league pitches. So, but those are the numbers. I got to go with the numbers that I'm given. I still think that he probably is a good candidate to strike out. And even though by the numbers, Adames would normally be a half, Adames batting cleanup would normally be a half for me, because he doesn't chase, and because his overall whiff percentage to a four-seamer is very low. Cease has gotten him 7 out of 14 times. Cease will probably see him 3 times today, so I got to put him down for 1. Now, my problem with this line, and the reason why I hate it, is not that I don't think Cease can get 7, because I think he can. But it's because at the top of the lineup, if you look at, so the grand total is 6.75. If you look from the bottom 4, we have 3.75. So 4 of the 6.7, basically half of his strikeouts or more would have to come from the bottom of the lineup. My problem with that is that with Cease only spending 46.5% of his time in the zone, he can have a tendency to walk himself out of games, or to pitch himself out of games and shorten his starts. Now, when I look at Cease's walks prop for today, actually, I don't even think that I see. Actually, no, there isn't one up yet. So I would be very interested to see what a walks prop would be for Cease. The reason being is because usually if Cease is going to walk 3 guys or more, it's tough for him to get that many strikeouts. Let me see if DraftKings has one up. Oh, wait, actually, yeah, DraftKings does. I'm sorry. We have a heavily juiced over 1.5. So the heavily juiced over 1.5 would lead me to believe that that Cease will probably see. I mean, he'll for sure see the top 4 3 times. He'll probably see Smith 3 times. but he might get to Schmidt, Koss, Bailey, and Gilbert, and that's where the gold is for strikeouts. So now I put it together and I say, do I really want to pay minus 164 on the hopes that Cease might get to those guys a third time, which would up their potential for strikeouts exponentially? It's a tough sell for me. So I'm not sure that I want to be in on Dylan Cease. What I would love if you're wanting to wait till lineups come out, Schmidt, Koss, Bailey, Gilbert, all four of the bottom ones. If any of those guys are batting higher up in the lineup, it's a much easier sell for me. If Jung Hoo Lee, I'm assuming will be in. He's the only real dead spot in this lineup. But if you have, there's really nobody else that's a pure dead spot. Ramos, it would be nice if Ramos wasn't in. I'm sure we'll get him. So Lee and Ramos are the only two that you could sub somebody else in. And I would be like, okay, that might make me willing to even put a unit straight on the over 6.5. There's a number of situations where Cease can get to 7, but many of them involve him getting to the bottom of the lineup if this is what they run a third time, or needing to strike out, say, either Schmidt, Koss, Bailey, or Gilbert both of the times that he faced them. It's a big ask when you're paying minus 164 for juice. So I think it's Cease if you want this line, meaning like the over 6.5. I think it's much better used in a parlay. If you wanted to throw it in there with something, even if you have a crazy parlay, you want to drop them down to 6+, which is going to be really ugly juice. But you can put him with something. I'm just not sure that I want this at standalone, especially because you have 6 right now on DraftKings is minus 280 or minus 280. So maybe you can put that with something else that you want to take down one. So like if you put Cease at 6+ and you put like Mania at 5+, something like that, you can probably get close to even money in some books, something along those lines. It's just not something that I'm horribly interested in playing standalone for the juice. Now I will say that while FanDuel opened at minus 164, DraftKings has come down to about minus 135. That's better, but it's still, for me, I still get nervous because I've seen Cease start fire and then pitch himself, basically walk himself out of games or rack up his pitch count so high that he's out by the 5th inning, after the 5th inning, which means that he won't face those bottom 4 any more than twice, which would mean he'd have to get one, probably 2 of them twice, because Jung Hoo Lee is going to be a dead spot. And Ramos is not the highest strikeout candidate either, nor is Dom Smith. So I can't go under here with Cease at home against this lineup. But the last point I'll make here is that there is always a chance, because it's a moving day and it's a day game, that the Giants do run a poverty lineup and some of these top guys, top 4 or 5, are out. If that is the case, then that changes the equation completely. So if you're looking at over, Schmidt, Koss, Bailey, Gilbert are the ones you want. All right. Last but not least for the scheduled pitchers, and then like I said, I know there's a few others going, so I kind of did little mini write-ups on both, is Sonny Gray. Sonny Gray, the righty, is striking guys out at 26.9%, walking guys at a 4.2% clip. He gets the Rays, and he gets whatever's left of the Rays lineup, which is a bunch of kids and a few vets. So we have a line that opened at minus 130, which is right around where I thought it was going to open at. So with Sonny Gray also does not have a dominating fastball, as you can see by his 19.5% whiff rate. But what he does have is he has an array of breaking balls, most notably the sweeper and the curve, that really can get guys if you chase. So if you're going to chase against this guy, it's a high likelihood that you're going to K. You can see it by his chase contact. His chase contact is almost 10% under MLB, or 9% under MLB average. So even if you have decent chase contact, if you just chase period, chances are that you have the potential to strike out. So we look at this Rays lineup, and the projected lineup right now is 6 lefties and 3 righties. Now we see that both Lowe's, Caminero, Mangum, and Seymour, all of them chase. So we have 5 guys that chase right off the bat. Now, of those 5, 3 of them make chase contact above league average, and one that doesn't, which Brandon Lowe has chase contact is just absolutely horrendous at 39.8. He's only K'd 2 times in 9 plate appearances against Sonny Gray. Now, where that leads me to go is that this tells me that this line is probably set relatively correctly because of the guys that don't chase, them being Simpson, Diaz. Well, Simpson chases a little bit, but he makes great contact. Diaz and Kim specifically, those 3, not only are they low strikeout candidates, but they're also potential dead spots. So for me, what I'd much rather do with Sonny Gray is pull him down to 5, because I think with the number of chasers in here, there's 5 out there. If I'm going to take an over straight up, I need one of Simpson, Diaz, or Kim out, or I need one of Pereira or Pereira, however you say it, the young guy, or Christopher Morel in. If I get that, then I'm going to want this over straight up. But what I'm looking at right here is that this over is probably about a 50-50 shot with this projected lineup, because what that means is when you have 5 chasers, that he's either going to have to get all of them plus 1 twice. He's going to have to get all of them plus Fiducia, who chases right around league average and could very easily be a strikeout candidate. Or he's going to have to get one of the 3 dead spots, Simpson, Diaz, or Kim. This is why I'd much rather, I need to see a lineup, and for me to play it standalone, I probably got to have Simpson, Diaz, or Kim out, and it would really help. So like, for example, even if Fiducia is out, if you put Christopher Morel in that spot, now I'm interested in the over, because Christopher Morel is a walking strikeout and whiffs to breaking balls like it's going out of style. So this is going to be heavily lineup dependent. And so I'm not sure that I want in yet. What I might want to do is pull them down to 5. And if I can get a reasonable price, put 1 unit straight up without paying the juice on that, or just put 5+ with something, anything else that you like. You can even do Sonny Gray 5+, Dylan C 6+, something along those lines might work. But as far as a standalone, I got to have Simpson, Diaz, or Kim out, or I have to have Pereira or Morel in for me to want Sonny Gray. So quick synopsis, but that's really what it boils down to for me on Mr. Sonny Gray. All right. If there's any thoughts, any comments in the chat, Kid Keon already touched on one of them that I knew would be asked about. Roger has a question on Luis Gil, 5.5 versus the Red Sox. I can't take Luis Gil. I thought about it, Roger. I really did. I even thought about, started to do a chart, just kind of a mock-up, like, okay, what is their contact rate, whatever, but especially not at 15.5 for his outs. So I think that he might have a much better start than he would a strikeout start. So if you're looking for anything on this one, maybe hits under might work. Outs over could work as well at plus money at 15.5. I'm just not going to go. There's just not enough for me to back him on the strikeouts. And Kid Keon, welcome in, asking, this was one that I thought would be asked about, would be Joe Boyle. So Joe Boyle is a TBD for me, and it's TBD until I see the lineup. What I need for Joe Boyle is if I'm going to go over, what I need for guys is I need guys that are going to swing and whiff in the zone. Joe Boyle does not generate a lot of chase, 17.5% chase rate, 10% under, almost 10% under pitcher average. Where he does dominate is in the zone, which is what happens when you throw a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. That's another reason why Mizorowski dominates in the zone, because he generates or allows a 77.4% zone contact, which is about 5% under MLB average. Now, when you look at the Cardinals as a whole, then what you see is, again, I'm looking for zone whiff and I'm looking for zone swing. And in this projected lineup right now, I see about half and half. So when I'm looking at it, and let me bring the lineup up, when you got, especially at the bottom, when you got Sagis, you got Pegas, you got Church. So those guys are all guys who have zone contact that can be spots to pick on. Now you go to the other end of the equation, and you have Nootbaar, Herrera, and Burleson, and you have the exact opposite, because Nootbaar's got great zone contact, Burleson's got great zone contact, as does Herrera. So all three of the top three have good zone contact. All three of the bottom three zone contact is horrendous. And in between, you got kind of a mixed bag. So I think that the line is right for Boyle. Now, there are lineups that the Cardinals could put out there that would make me lean, quite honestly, one way or the other. So, for example, if Church isn't in, then I would probably I might want to get in on an under. If Gorman isn't in, would be another one. And I think Contreras is fine for me, but Sagis would be another one. So those are the guys that I'm looking for to not be in if I want to take an under. And any one of the top three, Nootbaar, Herrera, Burleson, if any one of those three are out, then I'm looking to go over. So this is another reason why it's so lineup dependent for me. The reason being here is because Joe Boyle, while he has just an absolutely blazing and great fastball, his breaking stuff just is not there. His breaking stuff, it's a lot of them, quite honestly, especially his splitter, is just uncompetitive. So I'm waiting to see on Joe Boyle, but if you want a quick and dirty way to look at it, if you look at the RotoWire projected lineup, you want one of the bottom three out if you want an under, and you're going to want one of the top three out if you want an over. Manea, I think over is really the only way to play it for me. It's the minus 144 is kind of ugly for a guy on the road, especially for a guy that's only averaging about 5 strikeouts a game, but it's the right opponent to do it for. So I think if you're playing it, you're playing the over. I think that Cover Kings was right on that. So if you gave me a free play, I would for sure play the over. All right, let's go to other looks, sides, totals, and then we'll talk some NFL training camp, talk some NFL stuff, and get out of here. So for money lines today, slightly juiced, a little bit worse of a price than I would like to normally give out, but minus 130 isn't horrendous for the Cubs. I think there's value on them. I think that there's value on the Orioles at minus 115. The Astros are just in such rough shape right now. Young, even though he's facing them on a back-to-back, there's actually indications for me, at least in the line, that Young could have a good start. So Orioles first 5 makes sense as well. And if you really, 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 really have a desire to live dangerously and live on the edge, there's actually value in the Rockies at plus 200. I know it's the Rockies, and I know it's against the Dodgers, but if you want a fun little lotto ticket or something to put in a mega parlay, the Rockies money line makes sense. The Rockies run line for sure makes sense. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it just because it's the Rockies and it makes me kind of throw up in my mouth a little bit, but there actually is value at plus 200 on their line. There's usually never any value in the Dodgers money line to begin with. There certainly isn't today at minus 230 on the road. So Rockies at plus 200. Threw up in my mouth saying that. Maybe it'll be like the White Sox one that we cashed Roger for against Strider. All right, let's talk some NFL training camp. So, a couple things that I wanted to go over, a couple updates and things. One guy that may be a surprise this year, and a guy where if you own the starter here, I mean, this is part of this is kind of a yeah duh, but like some handcuffs you just have to go out and get. I'm not a huge handcuff fan. In fact, there's probably only 3 or 4 handcuffs in the entire league that I would go get. But if I own Kenneth Walker, I have to go get Zach Charbonnet, and I'm willing to reach around earlier just to get him. The reason being for this is twofold. Number one, I talked about Jackson Smith and Jigba before, and he was one of my "you'll probably thank me later" guys about guys not to take, and I still believe that for the entire passing game for the Seahawks. Now, the run game is a different story because if you go by what they've been doing in training camp, Clint Kubiak has been running a ton, which is something that Pete Carroll almost never did. Was running a ton of 12 personnel, which, if you don't know the terminology, it's 2 tight ends, and 21 personnel, which is 1 running back and 1 fullback. And so the reason why they're doing this is twofold. One is because Sam Darnold is their quarterback, and Cooper Kupp is basically like playing on like one good leg right now, and there's a lot of question marks in their passing game. And they also have a retooled offensive line that was one of the worst pass blocking units in football last year. So they're putting extra beef in there, and they're trying to open up big lanes early and then using that to set up some play action late. I think that's what we can see throughout the regular season. Because the Seahawks haven't run 12 or 21 personnel a ton over the past few years, it might take defensive coordinators a few weeks to adjust to the Seahawks. So I'm totally fine with Kenneth Walker at ADP. I actually think that Walker, even though I know he's hurt now, I think that Walker, when healthy, is an almost every week starter and is the only guy in that offense that would be an every week starter. But if you get Kenneth Walker, you got to go get Zach Charbonnet, because Charbonnet is a guy who filled in for Walker admirably when he's hurt. Walker's a little nicked up right now, and Charbonnet has a lot of the same tools and a lot of the same skills that Walker does. So for me, if I own Walker, which I actually do in a dynasty league, then I am looking to, if it's auction, pay a few dollars more. If it's snake draft, I'm probably going to look at where he's going from an ADP perspective, and I'm probably going to grab him a round or a round and a half higher. To me, there's a lot more value in that to just lock up that running game, especially when at least the play calling that we've seen so far and what they've been running in practice would suggest that Seattle is going to run a lot, which is also a good thing for them to take pressure off of Sam Darnold to try to go out and win games. Remember, Sam Darnold, I mean, yes, he had Kevin O'Connell and Justin Jefferson the last few years, or the last year in Minnesota, but he also had a solid run game with Aaron Jones that could grind it out. So he needs that. He's not a guy that you're going to be able to count on for 35 plus dropbacks per game on a regular basis. So look for Seattle to run the ball a lot. And for me, Zach Charbonnet is one of the few, probably 3 to 4 across the entire league, where if I have the starter, I'm going to reach on the handcuff. A couple other things is that if you're a Bills fan or you want pieces of the Bills offense, Khalil Shakir is looking to come back. He's had a high ankle sprain and has been out since early August. So good for him. But before we go moving him up our draft boards, remember, I think I said this on Tuesday, Keon Coleman has been a rock star this spring, summer, everything. Team loves what he's doing. Coaches love what he's doing. Josh Allen has spoken highly about him. The dude has just been a rock star, and he has improved by leaps and bounds. He may have passed Shakir on the depth chart from a target perspective already. So before you go moving Khalil Shakir up your draft board, just know that Keon Coleman has been an absolute stud. And I personally, if I'm deciding between the two, I would rather have Coleman for a number of reasons. Number one, I think I can get him later. And number two is that he's more explosive and has more upside. So, and then last but not least, The one other one that I wanted to talk about is the Jaguars run game. So I highlighted Bashil Tutin as you'll probably thank me later guy. And when I say later, I didn't put a timeline on when that is because in the preseason, Travis Etienne and Tank Bigsby have both been in a 50-50 split for first team offensive reps. And that makes a lot of sense because Liam Cohen's offense is not the easiest to learn. So you have two guys who have never played in this offense before who are learning it, and two guys who are probably more ready at this point than Tutin to be a starter. Tutin hasn't run with the first team offense yet. I don't let that dissuade you from taking him very, very late. He is a guy that the coaching staff loves. And remember, they used fourth round draft capital on a guy when they already had two running backs. What that tells you is that he's either going to be a guy that they want to bring along into the mix later this season, or if you're in a dynasty draft, for sure over the next few years, because with Cohen's contract, he sets up to be in Jacksonville for at least 3 to 4 seasons. So I wouldn't let that dissuade you. If for Etienne and Bigsby, I'm not looking to have very many shares of either one of them. And the reason why that is because they're learning a brand new offense. The Jaguars still, I mean, it's going to be better, but they're still not there yet. And you also have a situation where they're going to be in a very ugly 50-50 timeshare. This looks to be like their snap rates, their carriers, their routes run, everything is virtually 50-50. So it's probably going to be a hot hand situation, meaning that just whoever's playing the best is going to get the work, which can be maddening for fantasy. I think that the Jacksonville running backs are going to play a lot better in DFS. So like, daily fantasy contests. And you can do spot starts for some of them in some of those versus season-long leagues. So what I'm looking to do with the Jacksonville running backs at this point is I'm looking to because I don't think that either one is good enough or they're in a good enough running offense to be one handcuff to each other. So I'm not trying to spend 2 picks on the Jaguars. So I'm probably going to leave Etienne and Bigsby alone in most drafts. And what I'm going to look to do is snipe Tutin late and then just stash him on my bench and see what develops. So if I can get Tutin with one of my last few picks, then if it doesn't work out, it costs you a 13th or 14th round draft pick. Who cares? I mean, that's where people are taking like kickers, or like defenses. That's where people should be taking them. That's not where everybody does take them. But just in general, if you're doing a snake draft, what I normally like to do is I like spending my second to last and my first to last picks on kicker and defense. And then what I like to do is I like using my absolute last pick on the highest upside guy that is left in the draft. And in most snake drafts, for me, that can be a guy like Bashil Tutin, that can be a guy like Josh Downs, that can be like any guy, that can be a guy, Jaden Blue for the Cowboys, depending on your draft format, could be. It's like any one of those guys. The guys like that are guys that I can grab with my absolute last pick. So I've done that for years upon years in fantasy, is take kicker defense. There's 15 rounds in the draft. 13th round, I take a kicker. 14th round, I take a defense. And 15th round, I take a last pick. I take whatever the highest upside guy that is available at that time. Also with defenses, one last point before I run to the chat and get out of here is that I am personally a big fan of streaming defenses. So when I'm taking a defense, like I'm not going to get the Bills, I'm not going to get the Ravens, I don't use season-long defenses. What I look for are ones that could have a good matchup or good spot for week 1 or weeks 1 to 2. And then I just play waiver wire and just play matchups because in most leagues, what you'll have is about half the league, maybe more, that will take the top defenses. And then you can just play lotto. You can play the free agent lotto every week and spend, if you use free agent dollars, you can spend $1 or $2 on each defense that has the best matchup remaining. And I can tell you that, and I've seen models and algorithms for this, the difference between the number 1 ranked fantasy defense and the number 15, 16 ranked fantasy defense is like that much. Sliver of points doesn't make a difference. And for where a defense like, say, the Bills will go versus a defense that you just stream week in and week out, you can get a much, much higher value guy, a position player that you can stash on your bench in the round that you would have to do to take take like the Bills defense, or like Brandon Aubrey as a kicker or stuff like that. So it should be fantasy 101 to take kickers and defenses late. You'd be amazed at the number of people that don't buy that. I don't take them entirely with my last 2 picks, but I do take them very late. So last thing with fantasy before we get out of here is drafts are coming up. And so what I get, what all VIP members do get, and what you can get as well, if you just ping me, is with your draft coming up, I have a tool that I've used for years that makes customized draft boards, meaning customized to your league's scoring system. So we can talk, and then all I need is the scoring system. And I don't charge a whole bunch for it. Very, very cheap. Usually a fraction of what your league will cost. And we'll make a customized draft board for you that will be the most up-to-date, because a lot of times people are using cheat sheets or print off a cheat sheet on the day of the draft. It doesn't include all these updates that I'm giving, all of this stuff, all the training camp stories. I incorporate all of that. And it generates based on your league's scoring system. So send me a DM if you are interested. Normally takes me about 10-15 minutes to make them, and I can get you that on the day of your draft. So if you're interested, hit me up. Last but not least is, let's run through the chat and get out of here. Thank you, and appreciate you to Moneybag Tone, to Andre, to Roger, to Cover Kings, Kid Keon, everybody watching on YouTube, on X, elsewhere. This show is brought to you on behalf of the Daily Bread Network. Please subscribe for all of our content. And last but not least is that there will be no show tomorrow. I know Friday's Super Show Day, but big life event for me. We are moving my son into college tomorrow. So it's been a lot of lasts coming up, but this is the last, and that we're moving him out to college tomorrow. And so I will be busy all day. So I will be back with you all on Monday. So best of luck in all of your action. Best of luck in whatever you're tailing on, etc. And again, if you want one of those draft boards, hit me up. Spin back. See you then.